We have our two finalists, Hydra Alliance versus Pandemic Legion. Some would say that it was a bit of a predictable alliance tournament final. They are two fantastic teams, and I cannot wait to see it. We did break our viewer record, and I did promise to show you some of the physics behind why ice cubes sometimes gravitate to the bottom. If I could just get a bit of a close-up on this glass, I'd be very happy. So earlier in the tournament, we had a single ice cube float to the bottom here. The relatively simple physics about this is, of course, that ice cubes are lighter than liquid water. What happens is once it comes in contact with the LED, it heats the bubbles, pressuring them to the outside, creating a vacuum in the middle of the glass, making anything in the middle fall very rapidly. Sometimes, if you have a big glass, I'm talking 200-300 kilometers, the glass might break. We do not have glasses that big in the studio, lucky for us, or we'd all be wet. So when you see an ice cube go down here in the bottom, it is simply because the LED has pushed all the bubbles to the side and created an ice cube tunnel, or a funnel, if I may. And that is the simple physics around this glass. It's something you'll pick up at school. Stay in school, don't do drugs, you'll do well. Back from this...
It's actually the same physics behind sinkholes.
Yes, exactly
Except
the
with
same physics.
Earth.
Yes.
Isn't it a vortex?
You could call it a vortex. I wouldn't mind.
I will.
Do we have the dream final? Is this what we've been waiting for?
I think this is exactly what people would have wanted to see at the beginning of the tournament, and I think it's like, I know Kill 2 called it, and a lot of us discussed what might have been, the most interesting matchup to have, and this is it. So.
No, a lot of people called it on the forums. A fair few of the experts called it as well. I think that as soon as it became apparent that that PL and Hydra would be in opposite brackets, I think it was pretty much a done deal. It
was at least something that seemed fairly high chance to end up like this. I'm really looking forward to it. I think we've seen both Hydra and PL be a little bit conservative here on the second day. We've seen their old setups. We've seen them pull out the stealth bombers, pull out the Drake setup. They're not revolutionizing anything. Are they just keeping back for the final?
I hope so. I hope they're going to do something. Both going to do something completely ridiculous. I mean, I'd love to see PL field like 3 Mimus from like their previous tournament win. I'd love just to see something really out of the box, really expensive. Just for the hell of
it. I too would like to see something really out of the box and really expensive. And I think one of the things you see with them is if you have a setup that's working and nobody's beating it because apparently you're winning, maybe there's not a reason to spice it up too much. But I think that one thing about this particular final is that there's going to be a lot of theory crafting and a lot of thought behind what it is that's going to come out. So I'm hoping we will see something extremely interesting, extremely expensive, and extremely fun to view.
You've made a fun argument about PL is that, yes, they are a really good team, but they also know what every single opponent is fielding ahead of time.
I don't know if I want to go so far as every single opponent, but in the majority of cases in the past, we've known that has been a big part of their arsenal.
I think that give a little bit of credit to PL, I think that more than knowing, like Darius said, everything, I think they look to find out the setups of the teams that they feel will concern them. They're potentially going to have trouble with.
I'm sorry.
No,
the other thing to say about them, though, is that nobody takes this, that I'm aware of, except perhaps now maybe Hydra, but I haven't had a lot of interaction with them, but nobody took this tournament more seriously, at least the last time around, than PL did. Even if they are using everything in their arsenal, which would include perhaps knowing what some of the setups are, they do spend all day, every day, or whatever, practicing and theory crafting different setups and making sure that they're working together very good as a team. I don't think I've ever seen anybody work as hard as they do at it, even if they are getting a little bit of an advantage outside.
Okay, and they are certainly a very, very interesting team. And I mean, we talked about knowing stuff in advance, and they just beat Darkside, who showed up with a turret-based setup, and all of a sudden, PL have Sentinels on the field as well. I mean,
what a shock coincidence!
What a terrible
bizarre.
turn of events where they guessed the exact type of work.
Yeah.
Well, they're just that good. I mean, that's what practice does, right?
Yeah. Practice it.
Absolutely.
allows you to know exactly what you need to know to fight the other guy. Yeah, a lot of practice. I call it experience. A good professional can do that.
You guys practiced a lot when you were in GS. How long did you spend usually?
Practicing? Usually about 21 out of 24 hours a day. We do have to take naps, but I mean, we took the tournament very seriously. And if you did fall asleep or you didn't show up, you got what we like to call negative marks on your record, and too many negative marks, and you weren't allowed to post anymore or participate, and we would basically take everything you own.
That sounds harsh.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like if you imagine a very tough, like a work camp, but
Yeah.
in a video game.
Okay, well that sounds like fun and exciting for all 5,000 members.
It's so great.
Anyway, before we talk more about life in Goonswarm, let's take a quick look at the making of Planetary Interaction.